Retroperitoneum contains some of the important organs like that of the pancreas, then there is duodenum and the colon, the kidneys and ureter. So these are the structures which are very important and they will be responsible for various diseases which can be seen in the retroperitoneal area. Now, it is very important to understand the anatomy of the retroperitoneum to understand the disease better. The first thing is the abdomen is made up of various structures, the abdominal wall. The outermost layer is made up of skin and subcutaneous fascia. The skin and subcutaneous fascia, it can be fascia of camphor or fascia of scarpa. Now, two types of fascia are there, and deeper to it we have the muscles, that is external oblique, internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscle, and deeper to the transverse abdominis muscle we have transversalis fascia. So these are the layers of anterior abdominal wall. Now inside this fascia we have the bowel, which is enclosed by the peritoneum. So this peritoneum will create the abdominal cavity, and this peritoneum is called as the parietal peritoneum, which lines the abdominal wall. Now the posteriorly, if we see that, there are most of the organs are usually present within this peritoneal cavity. Any bowel, if you see, is mostly present within this peritoneal cavity. So these are called as intraperitoneal structures. There are some structures which are not enclosed by this parietal peritoneum and visceral peritoneum. So these are present behind this parietal peritoneum, and these structures are called as the retroperitoneal structures, and this space is called as the retroperitoneum. Now based on this, we can understand that the retroperitoneum is formed by is a space that is formed by the parietal peritoneum anteriorly and the transversalis fascia posteriorly. So this space is called as the retroperitoneum, and in this retroperitoneum the most important organs are the kidneys. The two kidneys are present on either side, and these kidneys are surrounded by fat usually, and this fat, kidney and adrenal gland together is enclosed by a renal fascia. This renal fascia can be again divided into anterior renal fascia and the posterior renal fascia. So whole of the kidney, the adrenal gland and some fat around it is surrounded by this fascia. This is called as the renal fascia. Now this renal fascia is connected to the peritoneum, to the parietal peritoneum, by a fascia called as a lateral conal fascia. So this will divide again the retroperitoneum into anterior and the posterior compartment, and the middle compartment is where the kidney is present, and this space anteriorly is called as the anterior pararenal space, and this space posteriorly is present is called as the posterior pararenal space. And in around the kidney, the space in between the renal fascia is called as the perirenal space. So we have a perirenal space which is inside the renal fascia, and outside the renal fascia we have the pararenal space. And this pararenal space is again divided into anterior pararenal space and the posterior pararenal space. So again the kidney is surrounded by the renal fascia, and this the whatever the space present inside this renal fascia is called as the perirenal space. Whatever the space which is present outside the renal fascia, this is called as the pararenal space, and this pararenal space is again divided into anterior pararenal space and the posterior pararenal space. Now if sometimes what will happen is during the inflammation, the renal fascia, the renal fascia that we are seeing, this is not a single layer. This is a multi-laminated layer. Usually it is made up of two layers of the fascia. So whenever there is any inflammation in this region, the fluid can go inside these two layers, and which will lead to separation of these two layers, and that will lead to formation of a space in between this perirenal space, in between the perirenal space and the pararenal space. In between the layers of the fascia we get some space, and that's how the layers of the fascia splits. The anterior renal fascia, the renal fascia which is present anteriorly, called anterior renal fascia, splits into two layers and forms a potential space here which can be filled with fluid. Similarly, posterior to the kidney, the posterior renal fascia again splits into two, and this will form the potential space, that is the retrorenal space. So this is called as the intrafacial plane, or the retrorenal space, and anteriorly this is called as the retromesenteric plane. This is called as a retromesenteric plane because anterior to this anterenal fascia we see the bowel, so that's why this is called as a retromesenteric space, and this is called as the retrorenal space. So there are some potential space in between the renal fascia, and anteriorly it is called as the anteriorly it is called as the retromesenteric space, and posteriorly it is called as the retrorenal space. Now this is how the anatomy of the retrorenal space is present. Again we'll see in a 3D diagram, in which in this image again we can see the spine here, and then there are some muscles here, and we can see that this is a subcutaneous fascia, and this is the skin. Now here we have two kidneys, and surrounding the two kidneys are our renal fascia. This combined, these two are together the renal fascia, and we can see that in between the anterior layers of the renal fascia we have retromesenteric space, and in between the posterior layers of the renal fascia we have the retrorenal space, and posterior to this renal fascia we have the posterior pararenal space, and anterior to the renal fascia we have the anterior pararenal space. Now the contents of the posterior pararenal space is nothing but only the fat and maybe some rarely some lymph nodes as well, whereas the contents of the anterior pararenal space, that is this space, it includes one is the ascending colon, then the duodenum and the pancreas, and the descending colon. The retroperitoneal structures that included in the anterior pararenal space is the ascending colon, duodenum and pancreas, and the descending colon. Now whatever the structures which are present in this anterior pararenal space are called as the secondary retroperitoneal structure, and whichever is present more deeper are called as the primary retroperitoneal structure. This again comes in the topics of the retroperitoneal structure classification. Now whenever there is pancreatitis, there is chances of the infection that is spreading all around the spaces, and usually it will spare this perirenal space. Now this sparing is called as a perirenal fat halo sign. Perirenal fat halo sign we will see in case of pancreatitis, and whenever there is pancreatitis, now this potential space will be filled with fluid. Normally we see the renal fascia as a thin line, but whenever there is pancreatitis, some fluid can exudates can enter in between the layers of this fascia, and this fascia might the swell up and will be filled with fluid, and there will be thickening of this fascia might be seen in case of pancreatitis. So that is about the retroperitoneal spaces. Again, labeling all the parts, we have this complete picture of the retroperitoneal space. So if you see the retroperitoneal space in the sagittal image, we can see that this structure here is a liver, and here we have a transverse colon, and we can see that this layer is nothing but the parietal peritoneum, which is going continuously anterior to the retroperitoneal space, and posteriorly we have the skin and the subcutaneous fat, and here we have the muscular layer, and deeper to the muscular layer is that thin transversalis fascia. Here this thin layer is the transversalis fascia. Now in between this is our retroperitoneal space, which is colored in this area. Now we can see that the kidney, and around the kidney there is adrenal gland, above the kidney and around the kidney and adrenal gland there is perirenal fat, and this space is called as a perirenal space, and this space is covered by this fascia, which is called as a renal fascia. And if we see, the renal fascia is opening inferiorly and communicating with the infrarenal retroperitoneal in the space. Now anterior to this renal fascia we had this anterior pararenal space, posteriorly we had posterior pararenal space, and if you see that all three layers will become continuous in the infrarenal part of the retroperitoneal space. Now this entire thing is retroperitoneal space, and it is divided into renal area of retroperitoneal space and infrarenal retroperitoneal space, and all three are communicating with the infrarenal retroperitoneal space. Now this retroperitoneal space is continuous with the retropubic space of Retzius. Retropubic space of Retzius is present in between the pubic symphysis and the urinary bladder. So whenever there is extraperitoneal rupture of the urinary bladder, the urine can enter the infrarenal retroperitoneal space and then extend into the anterior and posterior pararenal space as well. So that's how the inferior extent of the retroperitoneal space, that it will go into, it will be continuous with the retropubic space of Retzius. So here is a contrast enhanced CT image which is showing us the kidney here, and surrounding the kidney we have some amount of fat here, and if you see covering this kidney and the surrounding fat is a layer of a renal fascia. Now this is the anterior renal fascia, this is the posterior renal fascia, and this renal fascia is continuous with the lateral conal fascia. See how thin the conal fascias and the anterior and posterior renal fascia appears. So if you compare that previous image with this, here again we can see the kidney, and here we can see the lower pole of the left kidney, and if you see that around this lower pole of the left kidney, here there is the perirenal fat. Surrounding the perirenal fat we were expecting a thin layer of the renal fascia like we see on the contralateral side and saw on the previous image, but here we can see that there is very thickening of this fascia, that is a retromesenteric interfacial plane, and also in the retrorenal space extending along the conal space. So this kind of the fluid which is entering into the retromesenteric plane, retrorenal plane, we see in case of pancreatitis, and this is a case of pancreatitis. Comparing it with the previous image, we can see that there is thin anterior fascia, anterior renal fascia, posterior renal fascia, and the lateral conal fascia. This is a case of trauma in which we can see that this is the kidney, and we can see that there is some hyperdense content which is present around the kidney, localized to one surface. So this is nothing but the subcapsular hematoma. Outside the subcapsular hematoma, we can see that the perirenal fat is seen, and outside this perirenal fat, we can see that the posterior renal fascia, and posterior to that, we can see again there is some hematoma, which might be because of some fracture or injury to the muscle posteriorly. So we are seeing the posterior pararenal hematoma, subcapsular hematoma in a patient with the trauma. So it is also important to note that the aorta and the inferior vena cava are also present in the retroperitoneal space, and it is present in the it is continuous with this retrorenal interfacial space. So any pathology here also will affect the retroperitoneal space. So this image shows that there is abdominal aortic aneurysm here, and we can also see that some fluid which is dissecting into the intermesenteric plane, the interfacial plane, and also in the perirenal space. So this is nothing but the rupture of aortic aneurysm which is dissecting along the interfacial plane and also involving the perirenal space. This is a case of pancreatitis in which we can see that this is the kidney, this is the perirenal space which is filled with fat, and this is the anterior renal fascia. Now anterior to the anterior renal fascia, we have the anterior pararenal space which contains the descending colon here, and this is a case of acute pancreatitis in which we can see that anterior pararenal space is showing the inflammation, that is fat stranding, and also the involvement of the descending colon. This is one more case of pancreatitis, is again involving the anterior pararenal space along with the ascending colon, also dissecting into the proximal part of the transverse colon, and see how we can see the perirenal fat halo sign, which is usually seen in case of pancreatitis. One of the common conditions that happens in the retroperitoneal space is the coagulopathic hemorrhage. So whenever there is coagulopathic hemorrhage, there are 3 points to be remembered. It will happen in multiple sites, and whenever it happens, there will be this fluid level or this hematocrit sign. We can see the cellular debris here and the fluid on top. Now this is called as the hematocrit sign. And the third thing is it will be disproportionately large compared to that of the trauma. The trauma might be very trivial, but the hematoma will be large. So these are the 3 features which would point us towards the coagulopathic hemorrhage. And in here we can see that there is coagulopathic hemorrhage happening in both the psoas muscles. So this is one more condition that we see in the retroperitoneum. That is, in this we can see that some mantle of soft tissue which is surrounding the aorta, and also we can see corresponding hydronephrosis on the left kidney. And also if you see the enhancement pattern, there is delayed and decreased enhancement of the left kidney compared to that of the right. That tells us that there is some amount of obstruction in the left kidney. So this is a case of retroperitoneal fibrosis. So this is a common feature of retroperitoneal fibrosis. We'll see a mantle of soft tissue around aorta, but important to note is that it will not displace the aorta anteriorly. Posteriorly, it will not have this mantle of soft tissue, unlike lymphoma, in which lymphoma there will be anterior displacement of aorta, and we can see this soft tissue all around the aorta, and it is called as the floating aorta sign. But here we can see a mantle of soft tissue and hydronephrosis along with some obstructive component which is causing delayed enhancement of the kidney. It's a case of retroperitoneal fibrosis.